Hello everybody, my name is Marlowe and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Survival, where in the last episode we built this giant warehouse to store all of the refined materials collected through the mining operation here. Which we're going to be doing some more work on today, specifically down here in the cave itself, but before we start any of that, I need to catch you up on what I've been doing in between episodes. One of those things is acquiring some more tools, all of these right here. Before I had these netherite pickaxes and shovels, I pretty much had my main two here as well as a spare diamond one or two. So now I have all of these for if a grind ever arises and I need to do some digging. Now of course I had to test out my tools to make sure they were working correctly, so I took my shovels to the desert and started digging sand. And there's actually a good reason why I'm digging all of this sand and making this lovely flat area. One, I get a bunch of sand, which is always very helpful, but two, I'm thinking that is actually going to be my copper aging area, just a separate place for me to go to let my copper oxidize. There's plenty of room there so I can space it all out, and it'll probably be much quicker than what I do currently. So of course, after all of that digging, my tools were looking worse for wear, and they needed a repair. So at the time, my only XP sources were 1, a skeleton spawner underground there, and 2, my XP machine just over here, which basically smelts cactus in a furnace using bamboo as a fuel, and it's meant to be working constantly if the flying machine doesn't break underground, which it does on a regular basis, and I have to go and repair it, and it is annoying. So I tend just to leave it now. So as you may have guessed, the last thing that I did in between episodes was build myself a brand new XP farm. This time an Enderman farm, and the design is actually from Mortings. I'll leave a link to the tutorial that I followed down in the description below. Super simple to build, took like no time at all, maybe 30-40 minutes. As you can see, the design is not complicated. It works in your basic Enderman farm ways, where you put an Endermite, aka Earth's mightiest hero, in the middle, and the Endermen do not like Earth's mightiest hero, so they try and get it and sprint towards it, fall down the middle, where I can then kill them and get lots and lots of XP. As you can see, I also made it look a little bit nicer here, nothing too special, just basically added in some water drops and bubble columns to get up and down to the pathway here, so I can zoom all the way across and go and kill Enderman whenever I want to. So before this, it was just leaves and a ladder to get back up, just a little bit neater this way, I think. And I also made this sword. Oh, that was close. Might have to put this in a chest instead of an item frame, otherwise it might ping off the world. But this is just my Enderman killing sword. As you can see, I basically just needed sweeping edge and mending, but I got all of that other stuff as well, because now we have unlimited XP. I got more books and lapis than I know what to do with, so I can go and enchant them like crazy. Now, I do have a question to ask you guys, and that is, what do you think we should name this sword? Something like Enderman Whacker? I was trying to think of some alliteration, but I just could not do it. So if you guys have a good name for this sword to kill Enderman, drop it down in the comments below. We are going to start building very soon, but before we do, I need to craft one more tool, and that is my super hoe here. In fact, I've already crafted it, I just need to make it a super duper hoe by putting it into a netherite form, and I think we should get an advancement from this. Yep, serious dedication. Craft a netherite hoe. And then reevaluate your life choices. Well, I've evaluated them and I've decided it was a good idea. Everybody needs a super hoe. Anyway, we should probably get started with doing some building, which, as I said, is going to be down here at the bottom of the mines. Now, it is super duper messy down here, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with this. Today's episode is a little bit different. As most of you probably know, I rigorously plan my builds beforehand in Creative, then it just makes the video process a little bit more straightforward, a lot quicker too. I haven't done that this time. And that's mainly because there's not going to be any single builds down here, at least nothing to the size of what we've done on the surface. We're going to have some smaller builds and little details that hopefully should be all brought together to create a pretty cool mine down here. Now, I'll be honest, I am kind of nervous because, like I said, I usually plan everything. I like having a plan, it suits me. This time, I'm going in a little bit blind. I've got an idea of what I want to do down here, but nothing set in stone. Pun kind of intended. So, yeah, let's do the first step. which is basically to neaten things up down here. As you can see, we got a couple of things like path blocks that have generated from the village above and made their way down here to the caves. I've also mined out some granite and andesite down here, so we have some large sort of chunks missing, which I'll obviously have to do something with, and just generally trying to smooth everything out to give myself a nice area to actually build in. Another thing Poor bat. I'm sorry. Oh, I nearly shot that one too. Another thing I'm going to do to start us off here is build a river. I'm not sure if that's exactly the right terminology. Can a river be underground? Does it have a different name in that case? I don't know, but I'm going to build a river, kind of connecting this waterfall with this one, because at the moment they just kind of flood the area down at the bottom here, which isn't great, but I definitely want to keep the waterfalls themselves. So I think I'm just going to make something that kind of cuts through the middle here and goes off into there. Possibly I could turn this area back here into a pool of sorts. That would be a cool idea. So it turns out my new river is a haven for glow squids. These guys absolutely love it in here. There isn't much water around in these caves, I don't think, so this is pretty much their only space to spawn. Previously, they've been spawning in the waterfalls, and anytime I would come down here, I'd just have like a stack of glow ink sacks waiting for me on the floor. So I don't really have that anymore, but honestly, I'd rather keep these guys alive, because I know not everybody likes them, but they are pretty majestic swimming around in the water here. As far as the rest of the cave is concerned, pretty much all I was doing was, one, neatening everything up, which I've done a semi-good job at. I haven't gone too overboard. There's a couple of spots I would maybe alter, but I could go all day if I ended up doing that for every little thing. But the other thing I did was block off any cave offshoots. I've got most of them. I have like some way over in the corner there, which I haven't really bothered about. Just the super obvious ones in this main area here. Over here in this spot, previously we had 3 or 4 different offshoots, and I've covered them all up as best as I could. Excuse me, sir. And I tried my best to keep the terrain similar to what we have in just regular Minecraft, as opposed to making it possibly a bit more realistic. So I kind of made a decision in this series that I don't want to do hyper detailed landscaping and terraforming. No slabs and stairs, no extra textures to get it a bit more realistic looking. I'm trying to do something that is realistic as far as Minecraft is concerned, as opposed to real life. So what I mean by that is when I landscape or terraform, I'm trying to match the Minecraft terrain rather than make something that would be conceivable in real life. So for example, on the surface here, we have this waterfall just coming from the watermill up there, and we have a little bit of custom terrain here. None of this was automatically generated, but it looks like it could be, potentially, because we're not using any of the slabs and stairs or other blocks to mix in texture. It just looks like regular Minecraft terrain, except slightly nicer looking. And we could mix in some slabs and stairs and all those other texture blocks, like I said, and this area specifically would look pretty good. The trouble is, it would then stick out like a sore thumb, because none of the other terrain is going to look like that. Unless I wanted to terraform and landscape the entire mountain range here and everything else I do in this world, then it would match, but I don't want to do that. And the same applies down here in the cave. I really don't want to have to terraform this entire cave here, adding in all of the slabs and stairs and whatever else we would want to add in. Plus, we already have a very nice looking cave. With the new generation, it is a lot better than it used to be, so there's no real need to do custom terraforming all of the time, unless you want to, really go all in on a project, which I don't think is necessary. So I'm more than happy just imitating the regular Minecraft terrain. The way I've built this waterfall is in a way that kind of makes sense. What I was originally going to do is just kind of start the river around about here from this waterfall and end it off at the bottom one. And whilst it kind of looks exactly like that's what's going on, I have added a proper start and end point. The start point is just through this ravine here, so I did start terraforming the river on this spot, but then I thought, let me just flood this ravine and make it seem as though this is where the river actually starts. So as you can see, I've literally just dug up there and placed a water source down. So it looks like that is the origin point of all of the water that then flows through the ravine and then through the river here, catching the extra water from these waterfalls, and then we end off in a little bit of a pool here. Oh my Jesus, moly moly. That scared the life out of me. Anyway, what I was going to say is this is not actually the end point. What I decided to do is dig a little hole down here and go all the way down until I was hoping to bump into one of those water caves. I did not. I actually bumped into a regular cave, which has some history. Do any of you guys possibly recognize this cave? Probably not, because I didn't. It took me a minute to realize, but this is actually the place where I've had my one and only death in this world. So it was very early on in the series, maybe episode 1, 2, or 3, and I was doing some mining, and I walked into this cave and took on far too many mobs, and I was waltzing around, doing my best to fight them off, and then a creeper blew me up right here, I believe. And I had to run back and get all of my stuff, and I haven't died since then, despite getting an arrow right in the forehead. So as I was saying, this is now the new endpoint to our river, and I could probably leave it like this because, let's be honest, I'm most likely never going to return to this spot once I leave here, but I also think it'd be kind of cool to partially flood this cave, so I'm going to grab my water bucket and fill it up maybe 4 or 5 blocks just to look as though the water here is actually rising and filling up this room. Yep, that is a partially filled cave of water. Well, goodbye forever. So with the cave shaped and the river in place, we can now start adding in some actual builds and basically everything else. So I'm just trying to think what I actually want in here. Like I said, I'm going into this blind. I don't really know what I need to build, or what I want to build, I should say, other than a couple of things. One of them being a bridge to go from one side of the river to the other. We also need to add something at the bottom underneath the 2 crane systems that we have. So that is the way we get our ores up on that one right there. So we're going to have to add some sort of ore loader at the bottom here. And I've just realized that is some funky terrain to build on. Might have to flatten that out a bit possibly. And then we also need to put something underneath the person loader. How the people and the miners get down here. Which also is not in a great position. For a start, the rail line is in a way, so that would have to be moved if we built anything down here. And then even if we did, it's right over the river, or like by the side of it, which is just tricky. And besides, I don't really know what would actually be at the bottom of this, because all that's really going to happen is the person comes down and goes back up. There doesn't really need to be anything built at the bottom of where that's going to be landing. I would also like to have a few designated spots for mining, kind of like some strip mines, if you will. So maybe on this spot here, this spot over here, and behind me somewhere on this side, we could build some mine entrances of sorts and then dig out a little area and then build some strip mines, you know, kind of like what you would just do if you were making a mine for yourself in this game. So we could do a few of those potentially, and everything else is kind of just like the smaller little details, so possibly some carts, some stacks of storage, all that sort of thing, which I haven't fully figured out. But I'm going to do some building, and then I'll update you when I've got a worthy amount of progress done. This is a pretty good start, I would say. So as you can see, we got some rail lines leading off to the 3 designated mining areas. We've even got a bridge in the middle leading to this one here. So that is how the miners and the rail line cart is actually going to get across. It's wide enough that you can walk across without actually going on the rail line. But something I have done for all of these mining areas is actually do a little bit of mining. I didn't want to just leave them like this, you know, because then it doesn't look like any mining has actually taken place. So I've dug some very small tunnels, not going too far at all really, and I've done that for every single section on all 3. potentially a bit of a waste of time, but I like to be thorough with this sort of thing. So we've got all of the mining sections here with our rail line in place, which is of course how we are going to transport the ores from these to just over there. So this is the ore loading station. Basically, the minecart is going to end up on this spot right here. You can then unload the ores and kind of stack them up in a bit of a pile like this. And then this crane that I've made is going to lift them over this section right here. And that is actually the bottom half of our ore platform lift system that we have up here, which connects to the ore sorter. So that is how we're bringing the ores from the bottom of the cave all the way up to the surface here. Now, I do have something I need to confess, and please don't judge me too hard for this, but if I just stand in the middle of the bottom section here, it doesn't line up. I know, it hurts me too, but it's not worth the effort to make it line up because as you can see, this platform is like well into the river here, so I'd have to terraform the river all over again, and I'd also have to move the waterfall, which would then mean I would need to move this rail line because it's obviously incorporated into the waterfall itself, and let's just be honest, it's not worth it. It's close enough that it looks like it lines up. If I hadn't have shown you, you honestly may not have even known. Of course, we are not done. There is plenty more left to add, so I'm going to do some more off-camera work and I will show you around afterwards. Some time has passed and we are officially done down here, so let's take a look around, cinematic style. So this is the finished area down here, and honestly I haven't done that much. It may look like I've done a lot, but really it's just a lot of little things. So we have several things such as carts, some sort of lamppost sort of thing, just so we can actually get some light down here because it's very, very dark otherwise. And we got a couple of lanterns hanging up there. We do have a big old pillar here in the center. I was missing something in that open spot, and I thought it would be a nice place to just have a big pillar kind of holding up this overhanging cave. And then I've done something down here, like a table and chair area, right, for the miners to have their break on. I'm not going to make them work all the live long day. They can have a lunch break when they want. So that's where they can go and sit by the river over there. And then I've just added in a couple of ore stacks, as you can see, as well as a TNT pile with little sticks of dynamite, aka red candles. And I am not gonna stand around here in that specific area very often because creepers and other mobs still spawn in here. As you can see, one's lurking right there. If one sneaks up on me and blows me up, well, we can say goodbye to at least half of this place down here. So I'm gonna keep my distance. And last but certainly not least, I have added an official way down that could in theory be used by the miners. So obviously this is the start of the crane to take them down. They would get on this lift and fall all the way down to this platform right here, which is directly below it. Yes, it is. I would have gone straight down, but as you can see, we actually had not only this rail line in the way, but also the river, kind of like a similar problem we had with this one, except it's a little bit smaller and easier to work around. So I was able to add in like a platform as a halfway point, and they can get off here and go on to the next one, which is the exact same design as what we had. And this one, oh no, I missed two chains. That's not going to function very well. I'll go replace them after this clip. But this one goes all the way down to the bottom, as you can see, and I've actually like planted this one into the floor instead of having it halfway up. Just thought that was a little bit different than what we did up there. So yeah, there's now an official way down for all of these miners. So there we go, everybody. We are now done with the bottom section underground for our mining operation here. All we've got left to do is this top section, which is extremely unfinished. I'm not sure a lot of you guys are aware of that I'm still working up here. I am. I keep seeing comments of people saying I should add some like landscaping and connect all of the buildings a little bit better because they're very spaced out. Yes, I 100% agree. We are going to be doing something like that soon. I was actually planning that for today's episode, but I just don't really know how to go about doing this. So if you got any ideas, put them in the comments below. I could use the extra help for what to actually do with this up area other than just, you know, maybe a couple of trees and some pathways. I would like to do a little bit more than that, but we'll save that for not next episode, maybe not even the one after, because I've got two plans for the next 2 episodes. The next one is actually going to be a world tour since it's episode 25. In my opinion, with how frequent my episodes are, 25 is a really good number for just a recap of the series and kind of what we've built and where we're up to. So next episode, for episode 25, we're going to just be taking a look around my world here and reminisce of everything we've actually built so far in this series, which is 90% on the screen right now, but there are some other things elsewhere in the world we are going to check out too. And then the following episode, episode 26, we're going to do something not related to the mining project here. I've been working on this a little bit longer than I thought I was going to be when I first started it, and as I just mentioned, I'm having a little bit of builder's block with what to do up here, so I think having a couple of weeks away not working on this project is going to be good for my creative juices. I'll be able to get them flowing again, plus I would have had plenty of time to read all of your comments if you guys have got any. So the following episode after the world tour, we're just going to do something different. I don't know what yet, but I can most likely assure you it's not going to be anywhere around here. And one last thing to mention before we end off the episode today is in between episodes, before we get to the world tour, I might try and do a little bit more landscaping and adding in some more pathways just to kind of complete the mountain a little bit more. So as you can see, this whole section, what is in front of me right now, is pretty much done with a couple of exceptions on the smaller side of things. But over here, where we have the observatory, the mega bridge, the mill, and my starter house, there's none of that. So if I manage to find some time in between episodes, and that's a big if my schedule allows it, I will build some trees and just kind of complete this area a little bit more. So the world tour will hopefully be that much better. But no promises, because I am quite a busy guy, so I might not be able to have the time to do it, but I would like to. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's episode, everybody. I really hope you've enjoyed. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now. Ouch. Ouch. Bye.